Hello, and welcome to LDR811, otherwise known as the In-Depth Exploration of Organization Behavior. My name is Greg Parsons. I'm the professor and instructor for this particular class. Hope you have a happy New Year, that you had a good vacation and you're well rested and ready to get back to work. I expect this class will be challenging to the extent that we're going to be covering a lot of material. However, for a doctoral level program, that's not very unusual. You're expected to do a lot of reading, and this won't disappoint you if that's what you expect. The purpose of the following presentation is to go over some of the details of the class, the syllabus, some of Kaiser policies to make sure that when we start the class we have a common understanding of how things are going to work. And if you have any questions or misunderstandings about that, now is the best time to be able to straighten that out so that we both agree, or we all agree, that this is the policies that are going to be followed and these are the policies that are going to be enforced. Not to scare you off or anything, I just want to let you know what's going to be contained in the next 10 minutes of presentation. A little bit about myself. I've been working at Kaiser for about 8 years now, and I've taught a wide variety of management classes, both in the undergraduate program as well as the graduate program. I live in Melbourne, as my bio information will indicate, and my wife and I both teach at Kaiser, and I'm looking forward to the class and hope to see you and interact with you over the next 8 weeks. I think it should be an interesting and hopefully somewhat enjoyable experience. All right, stay tuned and look forward to the next few weeks. Well, here we are on the home page for the class, and you'll normally want to go here to start so that you'll see if there are any new announcements, and if there are, then you'll want to click on those. So when something comes up that I think you need to know about, I will post an announcement. There'll be one, a minimum one each week, and I'll also be creating a video about the assignments for the week. So once you've looked at the home page, from there you can go on to meet your professor. And here I am again. This is a little bit of background about where I got my education many moons ago, and a little bit about what I've done since I've been working at Kaiser University. Again, it gives me contact information, my cell phone number. You can text me at that number or call me, my email address at Kaiser. And I also encourage you to use the Ask Questions tab on the home page to be able to post questions that might be relevant to the entire class. Let's take a look at the syllabus, specifically the course materials that you'll be using. By now you should have your two textbooks for the class. One is called Leading with Communication, and the second is called Managing and Organizations. These both provide background to the material we'll be looking at in this class. We'll also be using many journal articles that you'll be accessing through the Kaiser Online Library, and specific publications will be indicated for what you're going to be doing. The next thing we're going to look at in the syllabus is the breakdown of grades, as well as the percentages applied to the various assignments that are due during the class. The grading system is the typical Kaiser grading system, A's, B's, C's, and D's based upon a certain percentage, and you should be used to that by now. The assessment or evaluation shows a breakdown of the value given to the individual assignments that you'll be doing. So, for example, the threaded discussion, which you'll be participating in each week the total value you could get is 2.5%, or out of 100 points, 2.5 points if you got the maximum score for your initial post as well as your responses to your classmates. Okay? Not a lot of points for an individual week. When they all get totaled up for all 8 weeks, it ends up being worth 20% of the overall grade, but individually they do not count that much. The other papers that you'll be turning in the individual weights are shown there too. And it's important to pay attention to this because sometimes students get a little confused because they think they're doing well on certain things, but the things that they're doing well on don't count that much, and the things that count a lot they're not spending enough time on. So as you're deciding how to budget your time, where to spend your time, it's always wise to take a look back at the evaluation to see how much that particular item is going to be worth. We also have a section devoted to late assignments and the percentage of points that are going to be deducted for late assignments. So if you turn in something later than it was due, generally our discussion posts are due on Wednesday, your initial post, and your papers are due at the end of business on Sunday evening. If you do not meet those deadlines, you'll lose 10% from whatever the grade would have been. If you're up to 2 weeks late, that would be considered up to 1 week late. If you're over 1 week late but less than 2 weeks late, then the percentage deducted would be 20%. And up to 3 weeks late, 30%. Up to 4 weeks late, 40%. And over 4 weeks late, you have a 50% deduction. Now this is all predicated on the fact that you've made an arrangement with your instructor. The instructor, if you haven't told him or her that you're going to be turning in late work, they can refuse to accept it after a certain point. Okay. So again, this is important to pay attention to. The other thing is during the last week of class, during week 8, the late policy does not apply, which means that you've got to get your work turned in by the end of business on Saturday in week 8 to avoid any kind of penalties against it. The main issue I'd like to make here is that if you think you're going to be late on a particular assignment for whatever reason, get in touch with me and let me know what's going on, and I may be able to make arrangements for you to avoid taking a penalty on it if I think that the circumstances dictate that. The next thing we're going to look at in the syllabus is your guidelines for your research papers. And I specifically wanted to go into this because there's a little bit of a change in the syllabus. If you look down there where I've highlighted program resources, you're going to find your title page under course resources in the Start Here section of your course. So when you go to your home page and click on Start Here, you're going to see the discussion rubrics, the written paper rubrics, and the course resources where you can pick up your cover page. Over the course of the next 8 weeks, there may be more information added here, and I'll let you know in announcements what's available. Looking at the overall schedule, again, I've highlighted where you're going to find your rubrics, the grading criteria. That's going to be in the Start Here section, not in Program Resources. But mainly I just wanted to show you where we're starting. January 5th is the beginning of class. March 2nd, which is a Saturday, is the end of class. Try to keep on the schedule, pay attention to what's due, and again, let me know if you're going to be having specific problems. We also have a little section here that shows you what's coming up in week number 1. Now I will be providing another video that goes into the specifics of the assignment for each week, so I don't want to get into that right now, but if you have your syllabus and you're going through it, you can kind of look down there and see the amount of work that's going to be required for each week. Just to point out, this is a heavy reading class. Chapters 1 through 6 of your textbook Managing and Organizations are assigned for the first week, as well as Chapter 1 in the Leading Communication textbook, as well as articles. So again, I strongly urge you to manage your time and find set aside times where you can actually keep up with the work that's required. The last thing at the end of the syllabus is a discussion of Kaiser policy with regards to plagiarism. And we do use a software package called SafeAssign to detect plagiarism, and I will be putting together another little video to talk about how to use SafeAssign correctly and what the results of SafeAssign mean. so that you can avoid plagiarism as well as keeping up with the amount of original work that we expect to see in your papers and your discussion posts. The final thing on this page is, and in the syllabus, is with regard to incomplete. Incomplete means you are approaching the end of the class, you're in week number 8, and you think you're not going to be able to finish the work, but you have a good excuse, and you would like to take an incomplete with the idea that you would finish up the work over the next few weeks, hopefully within the next few days, but within the next few weeks at least. There's a couple of restrictions. Number one, you would have to contact your instructor. In this case, it would be me, before this occurs, not afterwards. You have to contact me before. You have to have 70% of the work in the class completed at that point before the class ends. And finally, if you are qualified to go for an incomplete, and I agree, the highest grade that you can get for the class after an incomplete is a B. So I would submit an incomplete as your grade for the class. You would finish the work. I would then regrade you, but the highest grade that you could get at that point would be a B. If the work is not completed within the 4-week time period, then the grade will either be the grade that was earned at that point. If you had a B going in the class and you just couldn't finish the last work, even your incomplete, you could still get a B if that was all of the work that you've got. Otherwise, you're going to get, if it's lower than 70%, you'll get an F. The other qualification is that students on probation cannot use the incomplete option. There may be exceptions based upon circumstances, as indicated in the last paragraph. When you go back and pick off the home page and take the week 1 assignment, here is what you're going to see. And as I indicated, there's quite a bit of reading involved, background reading to kind of get you up to speed on some of the topics that we're going to be talking about. There's a list of articles that need to be reviewed from the library, and your discussion post is going to involve some of the topics that we've been covering. Again, I'll be putting together a short video on specifically what we're looking for in your week 1 assignment. So I want to wrap this up. Hopefully most of this has been repeat and just reinforcing what you already know about your classes and your Blackboard. But what you want to do is get your textbooks. If you don't have them, order them on an expedited fashion so you can get started with the work. Pay attention to the schedule. There's a lot of reading that's going to be involved, and I expect you to kind of keep up with it. So it's up to you to manage your time. I'll be making comments and suggestions on your work, on your discussions, as well as your papers. These are not criticisms per se. My job is to critique the work that you've done, measure it against the standards that are applied, and make suggestions how to improve. Your job is to try to improve week after week based upon what you've learned in the class, as well as the guidance that I'm giving you on how to do better work. Don't make too many assumptions. If you're in question about something, even if you say, well, I think I should probably do this, but I'm not quite sure, but I'm going to do it anyway, that's not the right approach. I'm easy to reach. You can use the Ask Questions component of the class. You can send me an email, you can call me on the phone, you can send me a text message. I'm fairly accessible, and I will get back to you as soon as possible. So anytime you have a question about what the assignment is, what you should be doing, get in touch with me. I'm perfectly willing to answer any questions. As they say, the worst question is the one that you don't ask. So that pretty much wraps it up for this introduction and overview to this class. Again, get in touch with me. I expect a good class. We have a fairly small group, so there should be a lot of interaction between you and your classmates as well as with me, and I'm looking forward to it. So I will see you soon, and good luck.